Yeah. Students, we are continuing with calorimetry, the ninth sum. Mark the ninth sum important because it is, if you think a bit. In this, there are only two things, hot water and cold water, so it is direct, there is no calorimeter, so the third thing is not there, which is there in many of the previous sums. So, hot water, 300 grams at 50 degrees Celsius is its initial temperature. Now, cold water, there is 600 grams of that. Initial temperature we don't know. So, we are telling let the initial temperature be T2 degree Celsius. It is given that the rise in temperature of cold water is 15 degrees Celsius. So, obviously, final temperature will be initial plus the rise. So, it will be T2 plus 15. So, T2 plus 15 is the final temperature, but remember when you are talking about final temperature in this chapter, everything will have the same final temperature. That means both hot water and cold water will have T2 plus 15 as the same final temperature. That is the principle of calorimetry. Heat exchange happens till both the substances are at the same final temperature, or that in other words there should be thermal equilibrium. So by principle of calorimetry, heat lost by hot water is equal to heat gained by cold water. So here fall in temperature is initial minus final, so put a bracket before writing T2 plus 15. So it is 50 minus in bracket T2 plus 15, and of course N1 C1, C1 is 4.2, that is for water specific heat capacity, and on the other side it is 600 into 4.2, and in that case directly the rise in temperature is given 15. So you need not show it as T2 plus 15 minus all that, the minus T2. So you need not show final temperature minus initial temperature, because directly here this rise in temperature is given, so you can directly use that here. So that can be done there. So that 15 degrees Celsius can be directly written. Whereas here it is initial minus final. So when you open the bracket, that will become minus T2 minus 15. Both will become minus. So 50 minus 15 will become 35. And this 300, I have taken it on the denominator there. The C value, that is 4.2 on both sides of equal to, will get cancelled. So this leaves you 600 into 15, that is 9000, and the 300 comes to the denominator, so it is 30. So that means this bracket 35 minus T2 is 30, or minus T2 goes on the other side, it becomes plus 35 minus 30 is T2. So T2 is 5 degrees Celsius, that is the initial temperature of cold water. So initial temperature of cold water is what was asked, and that is what we had taken, let it be T2. So that T2 is 5 degrees Celsius. Here, because there is a rise in temperature, the main thing you have to understand is that everything will reach T2 plus 15 as the final temperature, both cold water and hot water. Many times students think, acha, cold water's final temperature is T2 plus 15. So what is final temperature of hot water? And in this chapter, in thermal equilibrium, both all substances whichever are mixed or in contact should attain same final temperature. So that's how you do the ninth sum. Mark it important because you may forget the method and this if you do not revise. Next we go on to the 10th sum, which is very simple and standard sum. There are three things. There is a solid which is hot at 100 degrees Celsius. Then that solid is put inside later in a calorimeter, but initially inside the calorimeter there was water. Mass of all three are given. Calorimeter's specific heat capacity of copper is given, 400 joule per kg Kelvin. Water specific heat capacity 4200 joule per kg Kelvin is also given. What you are asked to find is this, the specific heat capacity of the solid. And initial temperature of both water and calorimeter is same. we had done that in previous sums also, that whatever is there inside the calorimeter initially, calorimeter will have the same temperature of that substance. So if calorimeter was at 10 degrees Celsius, that is because the water initially inside the calorimeter was at the same 10 degrees Celsius temperature. So both places the temperature is 10 degrees Celsius. Had the calorimeter initially had the hot solid, then hot solid's temperature and calorimeter's temperature would have been the same. Usually in 90% of the sums, initially inside the calorimeter there is water, that is the cold substance, and the hot body, specific heat capacity which has to be found, that is put inside that. So in this sum, 10 degrees Celsius is initial temperature of both water and calorimeter, because initially water was there in that calorimeter. Final temperature of everything, just like I told here. Final temperature of the mixture means solid, water and calorimeter are all 20 degrees Celsius. All three of them are at the same temperature of 20 degrees Celsius. So, by principle of calorimetry, heat lost by hot solid would be heat gained by water plus heat gained by calorimeter. So hot lost by hot solid M1 C1 delta theta full is M2, heat gained by water is M2 C2 delta theta rise, and heat gained by calorimeter is M3 C3 delta theta rise for calorimeter. So these values 0.15, this is what is to be found, 100 minus 20, that is the fall in temperature. For water, mass is 0.25, specific heat capacity is 4200, and rise in temperature is 20 minus 10. And for the calorimeter, M3 0.12, C3 400, and rise in temperature again 20 minus 10. So when you do the calculation, this comes 12 C1 is 10,500 plus 480, that is 10,980, and C1 when you do the division it is 915 joule per kg Kelvin. That is the specific heat capacity of the hot solid which was asked. So we continue with the next sum, that is 11. So here now in the 11th sum there are two liquids X and Y which are mixed together. We don't know the mass of X and Y. So I am taking let mass of X be X itself and let the mass of Y be Y. So we need to find the ratio of X's to Y because they have asked you in what proportion are they mixed. Specific heat capacity of liquid X is 1050 and that of liquid Y is almost 1/4 of that, that is 236, almost 2 times that, that is 2362.5. That is the specific. This has a higher specific heat capacity. So this will obviously gain and lose heat very slowly. This will gain and heat lose fast. Temperature here is 90, there it's 20. Those are the initial temperatures, and final temperature of both will be 50 degrees Celsius. Now by principle of calorimetry, the same principle is used in all these sums where two liquids or two substances are mixed together. So heat lost by liquid X is heat gained by liquid Y. So M1 C1 delta theta fall in temperature is M2 C2 delta theta rise in temperature. M1 is X, C1 is 1050, and fall in temperature is 90 minus 50, which is 40. And M2 is Y, C2 is 2362.5, and rise in temperature is 50 minus 20, which is 30. But see, I have shifted the decimal here. So because I have shifted the decimal, instead of writing it as 30, I wrote it as 3 and I shifted a decimal. So don't get confused looking at this. This 50 minus 30, 20 is 30. But instead of writing 30, I have written 3 and that 10 I have used to shift the decimal. Now here don't do calculations. Why? Please do not sit and multiply this and this, it's a waste of time. Instead, you are only asked x upon y. So get y below x. Therefore, you will have on the numerator 23625 into 3 and denominator as 1050 and 40. So 1050 goes with 25 and 23625 also goes with 25. That gives you 945 upon 42. Then both those numbers are divisible by 7. So you get 135 and 6. 3 and 6 goes 2 times. So you are left with 135 upon 2 into 40. Now 135 and 40 both goes with 5. 8 times and 27 times. So the final answer you will get numerator 27 and denominator 16. So the ratio is 27 is to 16. That is the proportion in which x upon y is 27 is to 16. Now, next type of sums, there could be some sums in which electrical devices are used to provide heat. Like you have geyser, heater, kettle. All these are heating appliances used. You have used it in your house also many times to heat water. So now in that case, we have not done the chapter of current electricity. In current electricity and household electricity, you will come across some formulae for energy provided by electrical appliances. So we are using that. Energy is power into time. That is one basic formula. Energy is power into time. So power of the appliance will be given in watt. Maybe the power of your kettle you use in your house may be 500 watt or 800 watt. The more powerful it is, the faster the water inside will get heated. So energy is power into time, that is one formula. Instead of that, you can use energy is I squared RT. That is, if you are given what is the current passing through the device and the resistance R of the device and the time for which the device is on, then you can use I squared RT and find what is the energy provided by the appliance in that much time. This is used when you know I, R and T. Now if you are given V, I and T, then energy is VIT. In this case, V is the potential difference or the voltage rating of the device. Most devices or appliances in India which are manufactured in India, any maker, be it Bajaj, be it any Samsung or anyone who makes any appliances, they all are rated to work at 220 to 240 volt. So this is generally 220 to 240, but in a sum you will have to see maybe sometimes 200 is also given. So but in India the standard voltage rating at which all appliances, be it your television, be it your tube light, be it your fan, everything is designed to work at 220 volt. So V is 220 or V whatever is given in the sum is the potential difference. I is the current and T is the time for which the device is on. So if R is not given, Vi and T are given, then you will use this formula E is equal to VIT. And now if you don't know what is I and you are given the voltage rating of the device and the resistance of the device, then in that case you will use the fourth formula, that is V squared T upon R. So you have to learn these four formulae. It is there. It is there in household electricity chapter also, which is a current electricity is another big topic like light, which you will be doing and that we will be doing later when it starts later. So energy, power into time, energy I squared RT, energy is VIT or energy is V squared T upon R. Now what is this? This all is the energy provided by the device like the kettle or the heater or the geyser. And what is that energy doing? That energy is going to heat up some substance which is there in that device. It may be water which you want to boil. So that kettle or that device, the energy provided. So this power into time or I squared RT or VIT or V squared T upon R is going to heat up the substance, so that will be equal to that energy provided will be equal to mc delta T, where m is mass of that substance, maybe mass of water. C, whatever that substance is taken inside that device which is getting heated, the specific heat capacity of that, and delta T is the rise in temperature. So these are things that you have to consider when you solve the sums in which any electrical device and their ratings are given. Make a note of this, write all this in your notebooks. So now in the 12th sum, you have a powered drill. You know what a drill is used for. It is used for making hole either on the road, or it can be even used to drill nails and all on the wall. So the energy provided by the power drill we can find using the formula power into time. Now why this formula? Because you're given the power is 400 watt and it is used for 80 seconds. So directly you will find power into time, that is 32,000 joule is the energy provided by the power drill in 80 seconds. 10% of this energy, see most of the energy goes in making that hole, but 10% of that energy is heating up that lead cube. This drill machine was used to drill a hole in that lead cube, but 90% is doing useful work, 10% is going in heating. So 10% of this is 3200 joule is the actual energy that is going in heating up the lead cube. So this 3200 will be equal to mass of lead into specific heat capacity of lead into delta theta rise in temperature of lead. And you don't know the mass, so M is the mass of lead. 0.13 joule per gram degree Celsius is specific heat capacity of lead, and 327 minus 27, that is 300 degrees Celsius, will be the rise in temperature, because it's given that the temperature rises from 27 to 327. So 300 degrees Celsius is the rise in temperature. So M, you will get the answer in gram, because here the unit for specific heat capacity is joule per gram degree Celsius. 3200 upon the two zeros and two decimals get shifted, it becomes 39. 3200 upon 39 is 82.05 gram. That's the mass of lead, that lead block, it was 82.05 gram. So this is the 12th sum. I told you in some sums we will be using the electrical energy formula. Generally direct formula power into time may be used. Similarly, in the 13th sum you have a heater whose power is asked. What is the power of the heater? So we are taking, let the power of the heater be P, capital P. By law of conservation of energy, the electrical energy supplied by the heater would be the heat energy gained by water. So electrical energy supplied by heater will be power into time. Now time cannot be in minutes, it has to be converted to seconds. So 8 into 60, because 8 minutes is given. So 8 minutes into 60 seconds. Now heat energy gained by water will be mc delta theta rise. So mass of water is 500 gram. So you will take specific heat capacity of water 4.2, because that 2 should be in joule per gram degree Celsius. And the temperature of water has risen from 10 to 60. So 60 minus 10 or 50 is the rise in temperature. So here you have to find P. So the right hand side upon 8 into 60. So when you do the division, you get 218.75 watt. That is the power of the heater. I told you generally all the electrical appliances used will have a voltage rating of 220. This has a power rating of 218.75. More the power rating, less the time that is required. This has a low power rating, so that is why it is on for almost 8 minutes to heat the water by 50 degrees Celsius. So the power rating was us, that's the power rating. We continue with the 14th sum. Now in the 14th sum, a graph is given. From the graph itself, you have to find how much is the heat gained in calories. It is given on the x-axis, and on the y-axis, the temperature in degrees Celsius is given. So now the rise in temperature and the gain in heat you have to record and see from the graph. Now this substance, it is said in the sum that from 0 to A, it is in the solid state. So obviously A to B, there is no rise in temperature, the temperature is steady. That is because at A you have the entire substance at 80 degrees Celsius, it is in solid state. From A to B it is melting, and at B the entire substance, the same mass, has got converted into that liquid or liquid form at the same 80 degrees Celsius temperature. So this is a heating curve not of water. Water it would have been 0 degrees Celsius. This is not the heating curve of ice and water, this is heating curve of some other substance, maybe naphthalene or some other substance where it is getting converted into the liquid state from A to B. So it is any other substance, you don't have to bother which substance is it. And then at B to C again there is rise in temperature because now there is no change in state, there is the substance in the liquid form, and the temperature from B to C is rising from 80 to 120 degrees Celsius. In each part, how much heat energy was gained can be found from the x-axis. For example, in the region 0 to A, the heat energy rise is 800 minus 0, so 800 calorie. In the region A to B, the heat gained by the substance is 1600 minus 800, which again is 800 calorie. And what is all that heat doing? It is not rising the temperature. It is not raising the temperature of the substance. What it happens, it is breaking the strong intermolecular forces of attraction which exist in the solid substance, and it is converting it into the liquid form. After that, at B, you have that liquid at 80 degrees Celsius, and then when the liquid is gaining heat, the heat energy supplied in the region BC is 1960 minus 1600, that is 360 calorie. So B to C, 360 calorie of heat energy is supplied. So from here you can make out how much heat energy is supplied, and each part we have to take separately. You are given specific heat capacity of solid substance is 500 calorie per kg Kelvin. Obviously, in solid and liquid state, substances have different specific heat capacity. You know it already. Ice specific heat capacity is 2.1 joule per gram degree Celsius, whereas where water is double of that. Water specific heat capacity is 4.2 joule per gram degree Celsius. So both the substances in different states, solid and liquid, as different. Here also you can see this is steeper, that slope is less steep. So there is a difference in the heat capacity, or the specific heat capacity in fact. This is specific heat capacity. So region 0 to A, solid substance, heat energy provided in calorie is equal to mass of substance, specific heat capacity of solid into rising temperature. This is the energy equation by law of conservation of energy. So here mass we have to find, C is given, rise in temperature is 0 to 80, that is 80 degree Celsius. And the heat energy in calorie in region 0 to A is 800 calorie. So 800 upon 500 upon 80, that will give you 1 by 50, it is in kg. Why? Because this value 500 calorie, it was in kg. So because this is in kg, so your mass that you have got is in kg. So that is 0.02 kg. So you have to look at the units and decide what is the mass, the unit for the mass. Now region A to B, there is no rise in temperature, so obviously you can't use the formula mc delta T. The other formula that you learned in this chapter was M into L, mass into latent heat. Why is it called latent heat or hidden heat? Because there is no rise in temperature. You can't see what the heat is doing. Of course, it is visible. You can later see that the solid gets converted to liquid. So it is breaking the bonds. So you will use the formula MLF. And how much is the heat energy gained in this place? It is 1600 minus 800, that is 800 calorie. That is equal to mass. The mass is same. When it gets converted to solid to liquid, mass is not changing. Mass is 0.02 kg into latent heat of the liquid. So latent heat of the substance will be 800 upon 0.02. So it is 40,000 SI, so calorie upon kg. So it's 40,000 calorie upon kg. Remember, there is no rise in temperature, so there is no Kelvin or degree Celsius. The Kelvin and degree Celsius comes in the unit of specific heat capacity. Here it is only calorie per kg. Now the last part, this is the second answer that was asked, latent heat of melting. Now the last part is in the region B to C. I have asked you to find what is the specific heat capacity in liquid state. Let C with subscript L, Cl I have written because already I have written C for solid state. So in liquid state, Cl is the specific heat capacity. So in this region, how much heat energy is supplied? 1960 minus 1600. 360 calorie of heat energy is supplied. That is equal to mc delta T. Mass is 0.02, you had just found. Specific heat capacity of liquid is Cl. And delta T rise in temperature is 120 minus 80. Here the rise in temperature is 40. So 360 upon 0.02 and that 40, that when you do the division you get 450. Now the unit will be same as specific heat capacity in solid state. So it is calorie upon kg Kelvin. So you can see that the specific heat capacities are different. In solid it was 500 calorie, this was given, and in liquid state we have calculated that it is less. That is why this is 450 calorie per kg Kelvin. So this sum, mark it important, you have to see the graph and find what is the heat gain and rise in temperature. So everything else is like you did, three parts, 0 to A, solid gaining heat, A to B, melting, so no mc delta T, m into L. And last part is B to C, when liquid is gaining heat, it is again mc delta T, but now in the liquid state the C is different, it is Cl, specific heat capacity of liquid, whereas here it was C, specific heat capacity of solid. Copy this, write this down and mark it important. 15 sum, the power of the kettle is given in kilowatt. So kilowatt won't do, you have to convert it into watt. 1.25 kilowatt is 1250 watt. So you have to convert it into watt and let T be the time taken. So rise in temperature is given, it is rising from 25 to 100 degrees Celsius. So the rise in temperature is 75 degrees Celsius. And the mass of water taken in the kettle is 1 kg. So again the same logic, law of conservation of energy, the electrical energy provided by kettle will be equal to the heat energy gained by water. So electrical energy in this case, again since power in time is asked, so power is given, T is taken as the time, so power into time, that is equal to mc delta T, where m is mass of water 1 kg. So specific heat capacity, therefore you have to take it in joule per kg degree Celsius. You can't write 4.2 here because this is in kg, this value also should be in kg. And the rise in temperature is 75 degree Celsius. So after that it is just the calculation, 4200 into 75 upon 1250, which gives you 252 seconds. So the time taken in the kettle is 252 seconds. Unless they have asked you in minutes or something, you need not convert it into minutes. Second is the usual SI unit. 16 sum also similar to that. You have electrical energy is provided by a heater. In 7 minutes, whatever energy is provided by the heater When you switch off the device in 7 minutes, it is assumed that lead is losing heat at the same rate. So in 7 minutes, that lead which was in the liquid state continues to remain, and after 7 minutes it starts freezing. So the amount of heat energy liberated during those 7 minutes is power into time. Power is given 25 watt. Now 1 watt is joule per second. Why I have written this is so that when you have to write the unit of latent heat, it is easy for you. This is actually 1 watt or 25 watt, the power of the kettle or the heater. But then watt is joule per second into 7 into 60, because 7 minutes is 60 seconds. 7 into 60 seconds. And mass of lead is 500 gram. So when you get the denominator here, this is in gram. So that is why the unit is joule per gram. So 25 into 7 into 60 upon 500, which gives you LF is 121 joule per gram. That is the latent heat of fusion of lead. So in this case, whatever heat energy was provided by the heater in 7 minutes, that is the heat energy that is lost by lead when that liquid is trying to solidify and become a solid. Here there is no fall or rise in temperature. So it is just the change in state. So you are not using MC delta T. In this case, there was rise in temperature by 75 degrees Celsius. So you used MC delta T. Again, the power into time, energy was equal to MC delta T. Here, energy, that is power into time, but here it is not MC delta T, it is M into LF. Remember, whenever there is a change in state, there is no rise or fall in temperature. It will be mass into latent heat. So I did the 18th sum first, I have done the 17th sum later. So the 18th sum, you have been given in the 18th question that if there is no heat loss to the surrounding, heat released by m1 gram of water at 100 degrees Celsius. So water is the hot body, is used to convert m2 gram of ice at 0 degrees Celsius to water at 0 degrees Celsius. So ice is only melting from 0 degrees Celsius ice to water at same temperature. So there is no increase in temperature for ice. Final temperature is 0. So in this case, first question asks us, how much is the heat lost by water at 100 degrees Celsius in terms of M1? So it is mass of water, specific heat capacity of water into falling temperature. Mass of water was M1, specific heat capacity of water is 4.2, and falling temperature is 100 minus 0, that is 100. So 420 M1. That is the heat equation for amount of heat lost by water at 100 degrees Celsius to bring it to water at 0 degree Celsius. That's the first answer. Second question asks us the heat gained by ice in terms of M2. Now ice is not gaining heat and increasing temperature, it is only gaining heat and melting. So there is no MC delta T, it is only M into LF. So now here the mass is M2 and latent heat of fusion is 336 joule per gram. So it is M2 into 336 joule. So that is the heat gained by ice. Now already here we have written the heat equation that the heat lost by m1 gram of water from 100 to 0 degrees Celsius, that is 420 m1, is equal to the heat gained by m2 gram of ice at 0 degrees Celsius to water at 0 degrees Celsius, which by second answer we have written 336 m2. So we are just equating this equation with the second equation. So you are asked what is m2 upon m1. So 336 has to go below 420. So that m1 will go below m2. So the ratio when you substitute and simplify, it will be 5:4. That is the ratio of m2:m1. That is the third answer. So everywhere you are using the same logic that the heat lost by hot body is heat gained by cold body. till they reach the same final temperature. In this question, had they asked you what is the final temperature, then obviously it has to be 0. The whole body is losing heat at 0 and ice is only melting and becoming water at 0. 17th sum also is similar to this. I did the 18th first. 17th is also similar to this. A metal ball of mass 400 gram at 600 degrees Celsius and which has specific heat capacity of 0.6 joule per gram degree Celsius is placed on a big block of ice. So it is placed on ice and the ice 428 gram of that ice melts. Means there may be more ice. It may be a huge ice block and in that ice block 428 grams of ice melted and became water at 0 degree Celsius. So here in the sum, there is no mention that the ice melted and after that the temperature became 10 degrees Celsius. So everything is at 10 degrees Celsius. So this just gives that there is a block and on the block 400 gram, a small metal ball which was at 600 degrees Celsius was placed and because of that 428 gram of ice melted means there is more block remaining. So the final temperature of everything, that means the mixture, is 0 degree Celsius. So again, heat equation, heat lost by hot body is heat gained by ice just to melt. So it is M2 into L, that is to melt. There is no MC delta T, it is just M2 into L. Is M1, C1 and fall in temperature is 600 minus 0. So 400 into 0.6 into 600 is equal to 428 into L. When you calculate, you will get the latent heat of fusion as 36,000 upon 107. On division, you get it as 336.448. And since it is latent heat of fusion, there is no degree Celsius, so it will be only joule per gram. That is the latent heat of fusion of ice in this particular sum. Don't round it off or anything. You will have to write the answers correct up to 2 decimal place. If you just leave it as 336 without finding the 2 decimals, you will definitely lose 1 mark in that sum. Such sums comes for 4 marks, 3 or 4 marks. So copy that down, we will go to the next sum. In the 19th sum, the mass of the substance is given 2 kg. Thermal capacity is given 966 joule per degree Celsius. So thermal capacity is M into C. So from that you can write 2 kg into C is 966. So directly you can find the specific heat capacity or the value of C. It is 966 upon 2, that is 483 joule per kg degree Celsius. Kg because mass was in kg. So this is 2 kg. So that is why it would be in joule per kg degree Celsius. Now heat required to warm it by 15 degrees Celsius is MC delta T. Already MC is 966, that is the thermal capacity. Into delta T is 15, so you get 14,490 joule. That is the heat required to warm the substance by 15 degrees Celsius. Now the next sum, that is the 20th sum, mark it very important. It is very important and will be asked in one of the tests. So mark that as very important. It is given 250 gram of water, 250 gram of water at, that means 0.25 kg, at 30 degrees Celsius is present in a copper calorimeter of mass 50 grams, so 0.05 kg. Calculate the mass of ice required to bring down the temperature of the vessel and its contents to 5 degrees Celsius. So finally these both will have, along with the ice, have a final temperature of 5 degrees Celsius. Now mass of ice we don't know, well let's say mass of ice is M3 kg. Since everything was in kg, and even C1, specific heat capacity of water, is given 4200 joule per kg degree Celsius. Similarly, you can say C2, is 400 joule per kg degree Celsius. That's the specific heat capacity of copper. And initially in this sum, the calorimeter had water. So both of them are the hot substance in this case. Their temperatures will be 30 degrees Celsius. So both calorimeter and the water inside. Ice is at 0 degrees Celsius, and you can't have ice at 5 degrees Celsius, it would be water. So here the most important thing is there are two parts related to the heat gained by ice. Heat lost by this water from 30 degrees Celsius to 5 degrees Celsius, plus the heat lost by the calorimeter also from 30 degrees Celsius to 5 degrees Celsius. That will be heat gained by ice to melt. This ice is melting from 0 degrees Celsius ice to 0 degrees Celsius water. But it doesn't stop there. This melted ice, there will be a rise in temperature and it will become 5 degrees Celsius. So this part which I have written in green, that is important, that is missed out by many students. They just write up to 0 degrees Celsius, melted ice. But here it is given final temperature is 5. So that melted ice at same M3 mass will increase its temperature and become 5 degrees Celsius. So we substitute the values. This is M1 C1 delta theta fall. This is M2 T2 delta theta fall. This is M into L. And that is M3 into C3. C3 now it is water. See, once it is melted and become water, it has to be taken as water. So this part, this C3 is not 2100, it is 4200. Specific heat capacity of water. And the temperature has risen by 5 degrees Celsius. So 0.25 into 4200 gives you 1050 into 25. This is the mass of the calorimeter. 0.05 into 0.05 into 400, 2 decimals shifted, so 5. So 5 into 4 will give you 20, and 20 into 25. So this 25 into 20 is 500. So this is equal to, now look at the ice, M3 into 3,36,000. This is latent heat of fusion of ice given in the question. It has to be in kg. Joule per kg, and this is M3 into 4200 because this is the melted water. Mass of ice, when it melts it becomes water. So here you have to take 4200 and the rise in temperature is 5 degrees Celsius because finally 0 to 5 degrees Celsius. So when you add this, you take M3 common out and you add 3,36,000 and 21,000, so you get 3,57,000. 3,57,000 and M3 outside the bracket. So your M3 will be 26750 upon 35700. There are 3 zeros, so 1 zero of both will get cancelled. So you will be getting 0.075 kg as the final answer. So that into 1000, if you do, you will get the answer in gram. So the answer in gram is 75 gram. You can make the correction in the textbook. It is not 74.9, it is 75 gram. So you take that as 75 gram. That's the final answer. Mark the sum as very important. Something like this will be asked either in my test or in the school exam. That's for sure. Because here, many of you miss out on this part. 0 degrees Celsius to 5 degrees Celsius also ice will increase temperature. It's not just ice melting. Most of the sums were ending here. But here, since final temperature is 5, you have to account for that rise in temperature. Copy this down, we stop there. We'll continue, maybe we'll do some of the homework sums in the Zoom session. Bye.